Let's talk about that invisible force that can either make or break your performance. Doesn't matter if you're giving a huge presentation, playing in a championship game, or just sitting down for an exam. This is all about learning to control your internal energy, what sports psychologists call your level of arousal. We've all been there, right? You know the feeling. On one end of the spectrum, your heart's pounding out of your chest, your mind is racing, and you just can't execute. And on the other end, you feel sluggish, your mind is a million miles away, and you just can't seem to get in the zone. These aren't just random bad days, they're symptoms of a system that's a little out of whack. And here's the big takeaway. It's not about trying to eliminate nerves or just getting hyped. It's about regulation. The best way to think about it is like a thermostat for your performance. You don't want it set way too high, and you don't want it set too low. You've got to find that perfect temperature where you can perform at your absolute best. So, here's what we're going to break down. We'll start with how this whole performance thermostat thing works. Then, we're going to find our Goldilocks zone for peak performance. We'll dig into the difference between mind and body anxiety, build a toolkit of really practical techniques, and finally, figure out how to master it all on game day. Okay, first up, let's find that sweet spot. You know, the one that's not too hot, not too cold, but just right for you to be at your best. In psychology, this is all about finding your optimal level of arousal. So before we go any further, let's get our terms straight. When we say arousal, what are we even talking about? Well, it's basically the total energy in your system. It's a mix of your body's physical activation, like your heart rate, and your mind's psychological state, your alertness, your motivation. Think of it as the engine that drives your performance. This image right here, it perfectly illustrates the core idea. It's called the inverted U theory. See, on the far left, where arousal is low, you're bored, you're unfocused, and your performance is pretty poor. As you get a little more energized, you become more engaged, and your performance starts to climb, all the way up to its peak. But, and this is the important part, if you push too far past that sweet spot, you tip over into stress and anxiety, and your performance drops off just as quickly as it rose. And here's what those states actually feel like in the real world. When you're under-aroused, you might feel heavy, like you're moving through mud, your mind wanders, and you just don't have that spark. On the flip side, when you're over-aroused, your movements can get all jerky, your muscles get super tight, and your mind just floods with negative thoughts. Sound familiar? I bet some of these do. So what happens if we find ourselves on that far right side of the curve? Too anxious to perform our best. Well, it's absolutely crucial to understand where that anxiety is even coming from. Because it's not just one thing, it's actually a two-part problem that needs two different types of solutions. And this is the key distinction you have to get. On one hand, you have cognitive anxiety. This is all happening in your head, the worrying, the negative self-talk, the fear of failure. But on the other hand, you've got somatic anxiety. This is what you actually feel in your body, those butterflies in your stomach, the tense muscles, the sweaty palms. Now, they definitely feed each other, but the good news is you can target them separately. All right, we've diagnosed the problem. Now let's build the solution. We're going to put together a toolkit filled with specific strategies you can use to adjust your personal thermostat, whether you need to turn the heat up or dial it down, for your mind or for your body. So, to tackle that cognitive anxiety, all that mental chatter, we've got some really powerful tools. We can use focused concentration to block out all the noise, positive self-talk to literally rewrite our internal script, or imagery to vividly visualize what success looks like. Heck, even listening to the right music can completely shift your mental state. And for the somatic anxiety, those physical symptoms, we need a different set of tools. We can use things like rhythmic breathing to calm our nervous system, progressive muscle relaxation to release that physical tension, or even just some light physical activity to burn off that excess adrenaline. Let's take a closer look at one of these. It's called progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR, and it's based on a super simple truth. Your muscles cannot be tense and relaxed at the exact same time. It's impossible. So by systematically tensing a muscle group for just a few seconds and then completely releasing it, you're literally teaching your body what true relaxation feels like. This gives you conscious control over that physical tension. And here's a technique you can use absolutely anywhere, anytime. Just close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath in, letting your belly expand, and think to yourself, energy in. Then, as you exhale slowly and completely, think fatigue out. Just repeating this a few times can dramatically lower your heart rate and calm your entire system down. Another really powerful cognitive tool is visualization. But listen, this is way more than just daydreaming. To be effective, like the quote says, you have to create a detailed mental movie. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? The more vivid and positive that mental rehearsal is, the more your brain actually believes it's real, wiring you for success before you even start. Okay, so you've got the theory, you've got the tools, now for the final piece of the puzzle, applying all of this when the pressure is really on. This is all about building the habits and the awareness to manage your internal state in real time. Here are some incredibly effective strategies for that moment of truth. You can actually trick your body into relaxing just by smiling. It eases the tension in your face and your neck. If you feel rushed, consciously slow yourself down. The best way to prepare for pressure is to actually simulate it in practice. And maybe most important of all, nothing calms the mind like showing up fully prepared with a solid game plan. When you boil it all down, the single most important skill here is self-awareness. It's all about learning to read your own signals. When your mind starts to wander, you'll know, okay, time for a cognitive tool to dial up my focus. When you feel those butterflies kick in, you'll know you need a somatic tool to calm your body. You basically become your own performance coach. So there you have it, a full toolkit to manage your own performance thermostat. The next time you step up to perform, I want you to think about what you've learned. What's the one tool you're going to use to make sure you are right in your perfect Goldilocks zone?